Just one normal day in League Two. That's all I ask for. And let's be honest, it will never happen. This is the League Two Lowdown. My name is Jordan Richards. I am joined, as always, by my trusted co host, Luke Payne. Now, Luke, I know you want to talk about MK Dons. You scored 5 last night. Whoopie doo. There's more interesting matters to discuss beforehand. So I want to get cracking on. But how are you anyway?
Hey, I'm good. I mean, I beg to differ. We're great, but we'll get on to that. I mean, this league is just utter chaos, and I absolutely love it. I mean, high fives all around. It's great.
Yeah, cool. Look, we're just going to get straight into it because there is a lot to talk about. Um, I mean, from the stuff that's happened a couple of days ago, I say a couple of days or something happened yesterday, but mainly about the two bits of news today. Look, I was getting ready earlier to talk about one managerial departure. We'll touch a little bit on Mat Sadler in a moment. That's somehow not the big story of the day, weirdly. His departure from Walsall. I think we've got to look at Barrow, haven't we? Um, look, it was it was a month ago. You and Jack Mitchell Luke was talking about Dino Maamria being appointed after Paul Gallagher lost his job after 5 games. A month later, we're once again talking about Barrow. We're once again talking about Dino Maamria from the fact that he has now been given his P45. And the circle is continuing once again for the Bluebirds. It was confirmed in a statement that Sam Foley, Stephen Ireland, and David Worrell will take the team until the end of the season. And I'll just mention a couple points from the statement that was issued earlier. We recognise this has been a very disappointing season with far too much managerial change. You're telling me? As the board of directors, we understand that the buck stops with us. We believe this change gives us the best chance of remaining in the Football League. And of course, this is the same club that also sacked Andy Wing earlier on this season. More managerial changes, and I've had hot dinners at this rate. Look, Dino Maamria, 6 games in charge. Six. And yet for some and yet somehow it isn't even the shortest serving Barrow managerial reign this season because of Paul Gallagher. Um, Look, obviously they lost last night. Lost 2-0 at home to Bristol Rovers in a big game. But this news, it's just mental. I mean, if we can describe it in one word, the situation at Barrow at the minute, it's a mess. It is a mess. I think there's so many more words you could describe for it. This is as basket case as I think you're gonna get, actually. Um, Luke, we'll get your thoughts on it, but it is at the minute, it's a complete and utter shambles, and it's only going to take them one way. And there's almost, I get there's a sense of inevitability now from Barrow that they're not just in free fall, they're not in massive trouble, they're somehow worse than that. Even having a game in hand over the teams around them, they are, I'd probably say they're in disarray. I think it's that big.
Well, welcome to the circus. I mean, we were saying on that episode, me and Jack, we were discussing Dino coming in, and we are saying, you know what? They've got a manager that's a specialist in avoiding relegation now. Stick with him, and I was going on stick with him next season as well. It's
Stick
not
with him.
made it.
1 month. 1 month. It's
And
ridiculous.
just the fact that in the statement they were saying, you know what, we've made too many managerial changes this season. Okay, so why have you made another one? Like, think about it, please. Like, give yourself the best possible chance. You've replaced a relegation fighting specialist with someone that doesn't have much experience whatsoever. I mean, I appreciate, yes, there wasn't much of a bounce with Dino anyway, but you're not going to get a bounce from these new guys either. It's just, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And I mean, I just feel bad for the Barrow fans at this point because the fact that they've had to endure this sort of, I don't even know what sort of words I'd use to describe it. It's just crazy though that they shouldn't have to have put up with that. And I mean, the club deserves a relegation at this point, and the fans don't. but the club absolutely 100% deserves it. You cannot run a football club like that. And right now, I can pretty confidently say, I know they're not in the relegation zone right now, but I'm pretty confident Barrow are going to finish 24th and they will be in the National League next season. And I mean, when you have a look at their run in,
It's
you
grim.
can maybe see
It's
why.
grim. It is so grim. Right, they're running Accrington, Stanley, Salford City, Grimsby Town, Bromley, MK Dons, Chesterfield, Barnet, Oldham, Walsall, Cambridge, and Newport.
Yeah, good luck.
And yeah, well, yeah. I mean, what? I mean, you got Newport final day. Um, you might be able to get something out of Accrington next, but I mean, you're looking at the teams that they play. They're either they're either contesting for the playoffs or they're contesting for automatic promotion. And with the state of where the club is at the minute, and with some of the wins and how mentally fragile they are, we keep talking about the mentality side of it, and just how weak some of these players are at the minute. There's absolutely zero signs that they're going to get many points from it. They are in deep trouble. Look, we can talk about it for age as well. The chopping and changing of managers. You know, Luke, how much I hate it. I absolutely despise it. I will, even when the going does get tough, I'm always someone that's prepared to stick by them until I absolutely cannot, until I realise there's no sign of this improving. There needs to be a change. Clubs need stability. You can't tell me the way Barrow are going at the minute, there's anything stable about that club at the minute. I mean, what? Andy Wing, gone. Paul Gallagher, gone. That was a terrible appointment. And the fact that Barrow, well, what was it? I think they waited over a month to do it after Wing went. They took loads of time on it. I think that's easy to forget. They took a long time trying to hire someone there, only to give him the boot after 5 games. Brought in Dino Maamria straight away. You looked at the time, right? Okay, he's not the flashiest of names, but this is the type of person you want in the predicament that they're in because of his history in relegation battles in League Two and in League One. He's done it at Burton a couple of times. You knew what you were getting with him. Yes, he won his first game in charge, and yes, okay, he's made some questionable decisions along the way and stuff. But let's be real, how much of this can you blame on him? He's come into what is a dire situation with a group of players who are on the floor heading straight for the National League. And you can't convince me at the minute that they're not going to avoid the drop the way that they've gone. It is an absolute state. And as you say, the Barrow board have had it coming to them. They've had it coming for a long time with some daft decision making. And it all stems back to when they got rid of Pete Wild after the season that they just missed out on the playoffs. They had it good. Let's be honest, they had it good because the season or two beforehand, before that season, they were again fighting relegation. I don't think the board realised how good they had it then and how much of a great job Pete Wild was doing.
I
Like,
mean,
it's
even
absolutely bonkers.
this is the thing. Andy Wing was literally sacked because they weren't in the playoff race.
It's
Like,
mad. It's
what you'd
mad.
give to have him back now, eh? I mean, it's lunacy. It is pure
Look,
lunacy.
I've got nothing against Barrow. Absolutely nothing against him. But I think some people at the club, not so much the fans, I get it, and I get the frustration. I've seen a lot of criticism towards, I think it's Ian Wood, I think he's the CEO there, director of football, whatever. I've seen a lot of criticism come his way over the past few hours or so, and rightly so, because as fans have had enough of it, and they know what is going to happen if they don't sort their house out. But this has been going on for far too long. The chopping of changing of managers is absolutely ridiculous. Look, I mean, I'm just trying to think of some of the managers that they've had, and I'm forgetting, to be honest. And I think that probably says a lot from where they are. You know, they've had some decent foundations, and they've built that over time. I think a lot of that was down to Pete Wild at times, but and the fact that they've been a football league club is fantastic. They are a decent club, but I mean, come on, I can't say that this has come as a massive like. Well, the sacking, it should have come as a surprise, but honestly, at this point, I'm really not. I think they've got people at the club that are making stupid decisions at stupid times, and I'm
Very
trying to
patient.
be that's it. Absolutely zero patience at all. Um, and I don't get it, and that doesn't always guarantee it in football. And who's to say that they're going to have a new managerial bounce? It didn't happen under Paul Gallagher. Yes, okay, Dino Maamria won his first game, but other than that, I mean, they've been in games, but they've absolutely thrown games away last minute late on. I think that Fleetwood defeat has done way more damage than what I initially thought at the time, actually. I think that could play a large part of those players' minds until now in the end of the season. Actually, I think it's that detrimental, if I can speak then. I mean, you've just got to look at it. Losing to Gillingham late. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, conceding again in the 90th minute against Cheltenham the other night, and then losing last night to Bristol Rovers, another relegation rival. At the time or going into that game, simply a game that you really can't afford to lose because of that running as well. And they've failed miserably. I can't see at this moment in time, even with the game in hand, how they beat the drop. There's too much going on at that football club. There's too much going on to suggest that they are going to go. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. Look, I'm a Grimsby fan. I've seen relegate. I know what it's like getting relegated out of League Two. I've seen it firsthand. You've got to be ridiculous on the pitch and off it at times in quite a lot of periods as well to be relegated from this league. And on both of those occasions, they've been awful on the pitch, and some of their decision making has been ludicrous off it. And it's only going to take them one way. I've got no more to say in it. I was thrown away, massively thrown away with that. And if they go down, as you say, the board deserve this. The fans don't deserve it. The board do, because this has been shambolic to say the least.
Yeah, I mean that's all you can say. There's only really so many things that so many sort of superlatives. Like it's just it just doesn't make sense. Like just do what other football clubs do, like at least a little bit. Like it's just. I mean, 2 managerial changes in what 11 games. That is unheard of. Not even Watford do that. Like, come on.
They're worse than them. They're worse than Watford at
It's
the minute.
worse, isn't it? It's worse.
How have they done that? Oh,
Oh, it's bordering on psychotic. I don't understand it.
I'm not even a Barrow fan, and even I'm angry at this.
Well, let us know how you feel, Barrow fans. Anyway, I'm sure if it feels bad for us, it must feel even worse for you, and we can only sympathise.
Like, I just saw the notification from Pete O'Rourke. It's like, Dino Maamria is going to leave Barrow. I was like, you what? Like, initially, I thought he was going to walk, but reading a statement, it's definitely a sacking. It's, he has not walked at all. So I think that Barrow have like a fans forum or meet the owners on, I think, Friday. I'll tell you what, can they live stream that? That is going to be so interesting. And I'm really curious to see what comes out of that. I can't imagine that will be pretty. That's still going ahead, by the way, as far as I'm aware. That's gonna
brave.
be interesting. But yeah, a lot. I'm in the mood for throwing fists. So and you certainly got that from I remember we're talking about Barron. There's been another managerial departure today, which we thought would be the big breaking news, but it clearly hasn't. Walsall, Mat Sadler's gone. I'll be honest. I didn't think it'd happen. Because I think we've got to this point for the fact that he's been there a long time now. You can see that the fan base are getting more restless as the days go by. 3 defeats in a row for them. I think they've only won like twice since the turn of the year. The home form's been shocking. They lost to Salford last night in what was truly a god-awful game. And have also lost the last 2 at the back of that, losing to Notts County late the other day and losing to Fleetwood. I think the writing was always on the wall. And even I said in the chat last night, as much as Walsall are still in this sort of playoff battle, I mean, they're still only, 3 points adrift from it. So they don't have a lot of ground to make up. Probably it might be the right time to sack him, but I think the writing was on the wall. And after last night, I don't think there was much of a way back for him. I quite like Mat Sadler. Seems a great guy. But I think really this is stemmed back from the last couple of seasons, really. And I do feel a little bit of sympathy to him, a little bit. I think mainly with how he's been backed at times. I look at the 2 January's just gone. I don't think they've done enough. And how much blame do you put on him for that? I don't really know. Obviously, the first season, after losing Nathan Lowe, just didn't replace him at all. I think it was always going to because of how good he was that season. But even this season, I just don't think they've improved that much at all. But there's clearly something there because look, for the past 2 seasons, I mean, look, they were top of the league on Boxing Day this season. I think, is it just a case of give it Mat Sadler for the first half of the season, then make the managerial change? I think maybe clubs should do that now. But look, I think the fact that this has happened for the second season in a row, I think going on for the third year as well, I think they'll, the fact that they drifted off in the other year as well, he was in charge. He's clearly a very decent manager at parts for the fact that he can get Walsall top of the league. Staying there for the second half of the season seems to be a big problem. And I do think a lot of it is down to him and the fact that I think teams figure him out, to be quite honest. And he has absolutely no way of combating it. And as a football manager, you've got to do that. You've got to change it when it's not working. And I just feel I haven't seen it. I've not seen a plan B in Walsall. And I actually think that's a large reason why he's lost his job. And like I said, they were top of the league at Christmas. They're 11th, 12th now, and very much in, well, like I said, they can salvage it. There's still 10 games for them to go if they get a new manager in quickly. I've heard Darren Moore's name been mentioned by the fan base. Darren Ferguson isn't, but I'm looking at the managerial market. I don't think it's that great at the minute, but I do think there's a couple of decent names. You mentioned Ryan Lowe, whether he dropped to League Two, I don't know, but it does feel like a decent fit. But I think whatever happens, Walsall will give anyone time. They'll give him time, and they'll sort of give him that loving. I mean, certainly till the end of the season, and hopefully beyond. Walsall are a patient club. You've seen it with Mat Sadler, but I also got the impression that, I mean, after last night in particular, I think it's been untenable for a little bit, but after last night in particular, their hands were tied, really, Trivella, and the whole place was becoming toxic very quickly, and I think ultimately, I think it had to be done.
I mean, it definitely had to be done. I personally think it had to be done sooner. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know they're not out of the playoff race, but ultimately, we're saying they're top of the league, and on Boxing Day, they had the position. And even though they've dropped a few places, which, you're going to do at times, because that's just the nature of football, you're not going to stay top the entire time. But, like, they could have done this, 4 or 5 games ago, roughly, and they'd have still been at least in the playoffs when they make the change. And then if you get that bounce from whoever ends up coming in, then great, and you're straight back in the race. Whereas now they've kind of got a bit of ground to make up, albeit not much. It's more just the amount of teams they've now put between themselves and a successful sort of finishing position. So in that regard, there is still a bit of work to be done there. I do think you've kind of hit a nail on the head in terms of the plan B thing. I feel like there is concerns with the style of play because obviously I've been going on this whole time. Oh yeah, they don't want the ball, and that's great, and for how you want to play when it works, but when it doesn't, you're just essentially getting dominated, and you're just stuck in your own box, and they didn't have a way around that.
See, that's the thing with it. That style of play is unbelievably good if you're winning. It's bearable. You can accept it. You're winning games and you're absolutely flying. When you're not and you're going for long periods without wins, which is what Walsall have been doing this season and the second half of last season, you can see why it's just an absolute nightmare to deal with. And you get this. I got the sense that Walsall fans were bored, really, and I totally get it. I mean, I've seen Walsall quite a few times already this season, and you sort of know what they're about. I mean, they can be super efficient, but when it doesn't work, that's when you need your plan B to sort of come in there, try and change things up a little bit, keep the other team guessing, and I just haven't seen that at all.
I think it also just places such a huge emphasis on your striker being the one that has to score you the goals because you're going from back to front so quickly. And that kind of represents pretty accurately if you look at their scorers chart. Obviously, they've got Carney with 13 goals Presley below him on 6. But then after that, there aren't that many scorers in the team. I know Farquharson's popped up with a couple of set piece goals, but there's not enough goals in the team. It's a case of, right, it's all in on the striker. If he's not performing or he's not on the pitch, it puts so much pressure on that one player to have to perform at such an incredible level and actually getting the service to them as well, because you're putting yourselves under enormous pressure a lot of the time, which again can work if you're fantastic defensively, which they were for a while. But the second any of those things sort of take a bit of a slip or just aren't at the same level they were previously, the entire system collapses. It just feels quite fragile. And I think that's kind of been their undoing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens now with whoever comes in. How much do they change in terms of the style of play? Obviously, they can't do anything in terms of personnel. They've got who they've got. How are they going to adapt the style of play to get more out of, say, the midfielders, for example? Because you've got players there that can put up good numbers offensively. You've got players like Patterson in there. He can contribute with goals and assists for sure. It's just in this current system, he's just not going to do that, is he? That's just not part of his job role. So it'll be interesting to see how that now changes going into this final section of the season, where, let's be real, they need a bit of a bounce, because it's not just get up to the playoffs and back into them. It's then, assuming they make it, go and win them and actually outplay your opponent over either 2 legs or if you make it to the final, 1 game. So there's a lot of pressure now.
I think you make a good point with the strikers, actually. I think you look at who they've got. Mat Sadler can't have the excuse of their best striker going back this season. I mean, they've kept Daniel Carnu until the end of the season, and he's been, on the whole, pretty good for them. But I also look at the other options at their disposal. I don't think they've really got quite enough. Aaron Presley's chipped in with a couple of goals here and there, but not so much. I mean, Jamil Matt's been a fantastic servant to Walsall over the years that he's been there, but I think his days as a Football League striker are perhaps behind him now. I think it was quite a good indication after watching, because I watched the Salford-Walsall game last night. Salford were bringing on Fabio Barini, and yet not shortly after that, I mean, you've got Walsall bringing on Jamil Matt. I mean, probably the levels there. I don't want to disrespect Jammer, but I mean, he had a really good chance to equalise in the game, and maybe I think it's one of them. Then maybe if it was a couple of years younger, he might have gotten the end of that. And I just don't think they've offered a lot up front in particular. So I mean, I'm trying to think of the other options. I've got that lad on loan from Fulham, haven't they? Lapalo Bay, is it?
Lapalo Bay, Albert
Yeah,
Adoma.
Albert Adoma that have played up front a few times. I just don't think it's enough. I think they needed probably another option there. And like I said, I don't think that's mainly much his fault. I think you're probably more looking at Trivella for that one. For the fact that they've clearly needed reinforcements in January at the top end of the field. No disrespect to Lapala Bay in particular, who they brought in January, but I think they needed another name in there, a little bit more experienced in that regard. I mean, look, the second the manager, 10 with 10 games of the season left, they're sort of banking on a bounce. And look, I think there's some good players at Walsall. I really do. There's some real talented players in there, and they've proven it. But you know, it is, like I said, it was only not long ago they were top of the league. There's some really talented players in that squad, but it was certainly a time for maybe if they can get someone in there, try and get his ideas across. Maybe I almost feel take the shackles off a little bit. I think that's some of what Wolves will need. But yeah, I mean, you know my opinions on Mat Sadler. Really, I think he should have been gone after Wembley. I think for the drop off there was that alarm in the second half of the season. And yes, they were a minute from getting promoted to League One. I think they took us all by surprise by beating Chesterfield in the semi-final of the playoffs the way they did. They were fantastic over 2 legs, and of course you get to the final against AFC Wimbledon, in which they just didn't show up at all. So, and yeah, I feel like it had to come to an end, unfortunately, and yeah, well, I'm really interested to see what they do now. They've basically got 10 big cup finals left. And obviously it's so tight at the minute as well. So again, you're not ruling them out of any playoff conversation, but obviously they truly believe that a change is the right thing for it. And I think at the time, I think it probably is. I do understand that. Could they have done this 5 games ago? Yeah, probably. We'd probably give someone coming in a little bit more time. But I mean, you've got 10 games in a very tight League Two for where they are. There's certainly time for them to get a few wins under their belts and make the playoffs. So I don't think it's that big, actually, really. I think it's probably they've left it maybe the latest as they could. But I think they've got a fighting chance still. I just need to see it.
Yeah, I'd say that's entirely fair. I mean, they're definitely not out of it. I mean, we've kind of said, a number of times this season it is so competitive. It's more just the amount of teams that they're going to have to overtake, and the amount of teams they're going to have to fend off from behind them, because you're still looking as low as potentially 14th, and thinking, you know what, you've got a chance of playoffs. So there's a lot of teams fighting for 2, potentially 3 spots if one of the other autos teams falls off. Um, but still, I mean, I suppose the only other thing is how quickly can they get this next appointment in? And I suppose we'll find out maybe in the next week or so, is how planned was this? Is there someone ready to come in? Is there going to be an announcement like tomorrow or something? Like,
I don't. I think they'll be quite quick with it. I think knowing where they are, I'll be surprised. It might be a case. I mean, they've got a massive game against Crewe at the weekend, but I think anything later after that game, if we get to the next game after that and they still haven't got someone in, then maybe you do question it a little bit more. But I trust the fact they might have prepared for this, considering their run. I think they'll be ridiculous if they haven't.
yeah, you'd certainly hope so, at least. But still, I mean, like, yeah, they're going to be a side we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. I imagine we'll be talking about them a lot more in the weeks to come. This sort of business end of the season, but yeah, I mean, for me, the decision was made maybe a little bit late, but at the very least, they're not out of it, so it'll be interesting.
Right, we've got a managerial appointment to talk about. We're going to talk through this very quickly. Um, Obviously, we've talked about Tranmere's struggles to death at the minute, and with good reason. We talked about them the other day. Maybe I said even if they get one win, I think could potentially be enough. I think certainly 2 or 3, certainly 3 will get them over the line. And they've got someone in there that will hopefully give them that boost to get them over the line. I think it's quite a sensible appointment. Pete Wild's back in the game. Of course, just over, was it about 6 weeks or so since leaving Fleetwood. Obviously, he didn't end the best there. I think the football got a bit turgid. I know we talked about at the time with like injuries and all that sort of stuff. I do actually, it's quite interesting with Pete Wild actually, because I do get the sense that obviously what's happened to him over the past couple of spells that probably not much fault of his own maybe, but certainly his stock has dropped a little bit. Obviously you see the job he did at Barrow. Of course, we talked about Barrow a lot, but obviously the job he did there was incredible. We was expecting him to go on to bigger and better things, probably in League One. I think he was certainly deserving of that opportunity after leaving Barrow. And for one reason or another, it's not quite worked out at Fleetwood. Has got back into the game quickly, taken over at Tranmere to the end of the season. I think it's wise that they've taken it to the end of the season. So I think it gives him the opportunity to assess Tranmere, the board, the current board, to assess where they are. If they ever get a takeover, we'll have to see what happens with that in regards to his long-term future. There was rumours that apparently he was in the away end because he's an Oldham fan, and Oldham won the other day. I wonder if he was chanting some stuff about Tranmere going down, which I think maybe some of them were. I'd be intrigued, but it certainly sounded like he was at the game. Look, I don't have much to say on it. I think it's a solid enough appointment for the position that they're in. I don't think they need to do an awful lot. I really don't, because of how poor the other teams are at the bottom. Like I said, I think you probably want in 2 or 3 wins. I think just to get them over the line, for them to breathe a little bit easier, I think. And I don't think that's a ridiculously tough task. I think they've got some toughish games coming up, but I think they've also got a couple of teams in and around them as well, in which they can get points off. But I think it's solid enough, it's sensible enough, and hopefully we get to see a few more fist pumps between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like there's at least a little bit of pressure because until they get those wins that pretty much get them across the line, there's always that sense of, oh, I don't like this. There's that
Right.
sort of
Yeah.
uncertainty there. But I do think it's a sensible appointment, and I mean, mission number one is essentially going to be stop them conceding quite so much. They have now conceded the most amount of goals in the league, and I think over the last 4 games, it's about 13 goals they've conceded. So that's going to be first target. Get yourself involved in some games because. Don't get me wrong, they might not even need to win any. Just draw a few. Just get yourself competitive and get a much more solid base, which is what we actually found at Don's actually with Paul Warner. I appreciate that was only 4 games to go, but it was just, make the team hard to beat, get a couple of points on the board, reassess, go into next season, knowing exactly what you want, exactly where you need to go, exactly who you need, and exactly who you can move on. And I think that's pretty much just where Tranmere are at. I do like this appointment and more experience than their previous attempts. And I feel like we've criticised Tranmere a lot this season, and I think for once we can actually give them a bit of credit for making a sensible decision, and I hope it works for them because I think it's a clever decision.
Yeah, I think I'll be surprised if it doesn't give the players a massive lift. I think that's certainly what they need. I feel like they haven't got that at times. I think a lot of it has been down to them mainly. I mean, they've got themselves in this position. I mean, they've obviously. I think if they'd have stuck with was it Andy Parkinson and was it Joe Murphy? I think taking temporary charge or sort of stuff. Joe Murphy was playing the game. I think went off with concussion the other day. I think if they'd have stuck with that, I think it would have been a little bit more of a concern. But you trust Pete Wild. You trust him. He's a solid enough manager. It won't be the prettiest football in the world, but you know what you're getting with him. Really good League Two experience, knows his way around football at this level. I think they could do a lot worse with what they have done. And like I hope, and as you sort of mentioned, I hope it works out for them. I mean, Tranmere are a big football club. They're a big football club at this level. They've got a really good fan base, and they're a club that shouldn't be in non-league. And I mean, obviously they have spent their time in non-league before. And I personally hate for them to go back down there. I mean, we keep saying it. This takeover needs to happen. It just does. It's still a broken football club, but maybe his appointment, maybe there is a sense of optimism that he can give the place a lift, and that's certainly what they'll be hoping for. Like I said, they need a couple wins. It won't be easy. I mean, look, I'm looking at their fixtures: Fleetwood, Harrogate, Swindon and stuff. But they've got Cheltenham, Shrewsbury. They've still got Bristol Rovers to play. I think they'll get enough points. I really do. And like I said, I think it's mainly because of the 4 teams that are below them. I think are worse. I mean, we've talked about their cushion, and it's already a big one anyway, so they've got the advantage there. But yeah, look, I like Pete Wild. I've always got big respect for him, and yeah, I don't mind it from Tranmere, and I'll be watching with intrigue. We've still got 4 games to talk about that happened last night. Talked all this about managerial departures. I'll run them all very quickly. I'll let you have your moment under the sun in a minute. Right, so the 4 games, Bristol Rovers took a massive step towards safety with their victory at Barrow, 2-0 win for them. Tommy Lee, absolute bagsman at the minute, has hit form at a good time. And Fabrizio Cavani, I'll tell you what, for his first season, I think in English football, I mean, he's into double digits. I think he's had a pretty good season. I think he's been a pretty good signing, really, in what has been a pretty awful season for Bristol Rovers. I think they'll be fine now. I said to you, I think they're pretty much safe. Probably a win or 2 more to confirm it as such, but I back them to do it. Steve Evans has given a place a lift, and they're 4 unbeaten now. They've won 3 of the last 4, and they've drawn the other at good point at Swindon. So yeah, they're hitting form at a good time. They're getting out of this mess, and then look, we've talked about Barrow. I think they're in huge danger. I think it's safe to say. Fleetwood were 2-0 up, and they absolutely threw it away at home to Cheltenham. 2 goals from Mark Helm in the first half sent them on their way, but a second half comeback for Cheltenham, Jordan Thomas and Isaac Hutchinson, another goal for him, albeit this was from the penalty spot, but 11 goals, 4 assists in 24 appearances for a club this season. Real good return for them. And Fleetwood's playoff hopes being dent another blow, really. We were talking about it the other day. Maybe they were going to be outsiders for the playoffs. I mean, they're on a decent enough run of form as it is at the minute, unbeaten in 7, They've won 3 and have drawn 4 of them, but it's the points that they're dropping, really. I think the points that they dropped last night, or 2-0 up at home, I don't think they should be drawing that game. The fact that they drew goalless with Newport absolutely peppered him, but couldn't find a way through, I think, again, would prove to be costly. I mean, but you can also flip that, maybe that equaliser at Gillingham might have been something, but again, Gillingham aren't great, as we should probably talk about now. Just the 5 goals conceded for Gillingham against MK Dons. MK absolutely rampant at the minute. What was it? 9 goals in the last 2 games. Alex Gilby, Gethin Jones, Marvin Ekpateta, Ben Wiles, and Liam Kelly on the score sheet. I mean, the consolation for the Gills coming from Seb Palmer Holden. 2-2 for him now. But yeah, I think MK are right in the mood at the minute. And even I was saying to you beforehand, actually, I think with where Bromley are at the minute, they're drawing a few games. And I think with the form of MK and the fact and their ability to, at times, sweep aside sides. I mean, you were saying, I've heard stuff from you and a couple of others that Gillingham away, not the nicest of places to go to from an MK perspective. Just sweep them aside like it was nothing really. I think they'll win the league. I really do. And to be fair, from pre-season expectations, they really should. Obviously, you'll blast about injuries and whatnot, but yeah, terrific result. I mean, the less said about Gills here, the better. They need the season done, really. They've been shipping a lot of goals in some of those games as of late recently, which I think is becoming quite the concern. They need a big overhaul in the summer. I still think they're whacking on huge pressure on Gareth Ainsworth because of this 2-year plan. I don't think he should be safe from criticism, by the way, because of this downfall. He's the manager at the end of the day, and some of the performances have been bad. I think I've heard that they've had a lot of injuries, but they have been bad for quite a while now, and they deserve to be where they are eventually. For these past few months, they've been poor at times, like really poor. And again, I've said it a lot. It just feels like the same old season for Gills, really. You can go back to listen to what I said before about that, but it's generally just a case of deja vu, and that's what I get from Gillingham unless drastic changes are done. And I think they do need to have a big old rebuild in the summer. But I mean, that's until the summer. And then, of course, I did mention Walsall's result at Salford last night. It's a huge win for Salford. I think what I said the other day, I needed them to, I think, back up a win. I think that's something that they've struggled to do recently. Of course, they beat Barnet at the weekend, another playoff chasing side themselves, and they've gone and backed it up again against Walsall. And I'll be honest, I watched most of this game. It was absolutely awful viewing, to be quite frank. But look, they got the goal. Fabio Barini on 74 minutes. To be fair, I thought he took his goal quite well, actually. Some decent composure. I think the defending might have been a little bit to be desired off from a Walsall perspective. I'll tell you what as well. I thought Salford's pitch. I mean, you're not going to play much football in that, really. And a lot of digs have come Grimsby's way for it, but seeing their pitches, it was poor. And considering, it does feel like I'm digging everyone out tonight, but I think considering some of the finances that have gone into that football club on players and stuff, the fact that they've not really sorted out their pitch, really, because I know they've had pitch problems for the past few years. This hasn't been a first-time occurrence. I've been quite surprised at that. I mean, Fleetwood's looked no better either, probably worse. But I guess at some clubs you're going to get that this time of the season. Obviously, we can't control the weather, and some clubs don't have the finances as like an MK Dons have got, really. Truth be told, but it's pleasing for Salford. Definitely a win and a clean sheet. Certainly a case of, yeah, that'll do. Move on to the next game. And they're 5 points clear ahead of, I think they're 5 points clear ahead of Grimsby now in sixth place. I'm just going to check that up really quickly. Salford are on 61 in sixth place, whereas Grimsby are on 56. Alongside Chesterfield and Crewe, who are also on 56 points. So, again, they've got a 5-point swing there as well. Another really poor night for Walsall, as I mentioned, which resulted in Mat Sadler losing his job. Luke, I'll let you have your 2 minutes of fame. MK Dons are good at football, aren't they? Go on, just bring it.
Oh, we are so good. Oh, I can't resist talking about us today. I mean, it's just the nature of these last 2 victories. You know, if I told you that we'd been missing Curtis Nelson, Callum Patterson, Daniel Mendes-Lang, Jay Matete, Kane Wilson, and we've still pulled off results like this. And we've got eight different scorers across those two games, scoring 9 goals. It's it's incredible. I mean, in terms of goals scored, we are now just 2 behind Coventry. So we're very nearly the highest scoring team in the EFL, which would be nice if we could get that. Although I do think it is going to get tougher because I still kind of keep coming into every game thinking, okay, this could be tricky. And actually, you're right early when you're saying Gillingham is a difficult place to go. And historically, that has not been a good place for us to go at all. And the thing is, I don't think they necessarily played too badly to begin with. They could have gone. They could have gone ahead before we scored. They definitely could have gone ahead. It was just their defence, and I sympathise with them a little bit because they have lost some key players. They're looking at Omar Beckles, Sam Gale, both missing, amongst others. But still, we took full advantage and lots of scorers. It's great to see, and supposedly not 4 new players, but 4 players potentially coming back for the game against Swindon on Saturday, which would be absolutely huge. And it feels like it's coming at the perfect time because I think a month or 2 ago we kind of set the target of let's finish the season with 84 points if we want automatic promotion. For us, that would be 5 wins and a draw from our remaining 10 games. And I imagine it's probably a similar points target for any of our rivals as well, towards the top of the table. So it really is starting to get a bit spicy now. And I mean, I don't know what to think of this Swindon game. Really, I'm just hoping we can get the job done against them.
What have you made about the other games? I mean, of course, Fleetwood throwing away a 2-goal lead, Walsall losing again at Salford. Not much in that game. A very poor quality game, as I've mentioned, and obviously Bristol Rovers winning as well. What have you sort of made from those ones?
Fleetwood one really annoys me.
I
I
thought
was saying 4 games ago. You know what? Look at this fixture list. If they win most of these, they could find themselves up in the playoffs, or at least be in that conversation. And yes, they're still unbeaten in all of that, but from those 4 games, they've drawn 3 of them, and not in the greatest manner either. Um, even if they win 2 more of those, they'd be up on 54 points, 2 points off playoffs, and instead they're 6 points off playoffs. That feels like those are the sorts of opportunities that when they arise, you have to take them if you're going to be successful at the end of the season and get yourself into that playoff spot. So I think it's kind of been a huge wasted opportunity, especially after being 2-0 up. I mean, I get Cheltenham are a good side, and I get that the conditions at that game in terms of the weather weren't exactly great, and there was lots of wind and all the rest of it. But still, come on, like just close it out, please. Like, don't get me wrong, they're not out of it yet. Of course, they're not. It's only a 2-game sort of distance for them to catch up to other teams. It's just such a frustrating one to waste that sort of opportunity. Just to touch on Bristol Rovers, I think they're totally fine now. I kind of thought, they've got the momentum anyway, and they're using it to full effect. And they've got a lot of good players within that squad as well, actually, that are starting to find form. Tommy Lee being one of them. We were obviously talking about Cam Rich the other week. You've mentioned Caban there as well. So there's lots of potential within that squad. And then other than that, it's just Salford grinding out a win, which again makes the table look quite interesting in that particular area. I mean, they're only 2 points behind Swindon and 3 behind Notts. I know Notts have a game in hand, but
that's
you've
it.
got to say
That's it. I guess that's it, isn't it? Because I think there's been a couple of times that we've mentioned that actually because of the games in hand that Salford have, if they just win a few of them, they might be in this conversation for automatic promotion. And again, you probably look at it; they're not far off it. Yes, they've been on a bit of a pretty miserable run at the minute, but who knows? I think they're getting closer to it, so probably a little bit of food for thought there, I guess.
yeah, I think there's a lot of chopping and changing to be done. If someone hits form now or drops off form now, that could either be the make or break for their season. I'm looking at our game against Swindon. I'm thinking if Swindon lose this, well, they can count themselves out the autos race because they'll be 8 points, sorry, behind us. And I'm also thinking if it's obviously a big if because I think it'll be a difficult game. But if they do lose that game, I think there is actually every possibility that they drop out of the playoffs. I still think there's a realistic chance. I was thinking that way back when Walsall were up there with them. It's just I didn't have like the guts to say, you know what, I think Swindon have that sort of shaky streak about them. But I'm sort of looking at it now and I'm thinking this could happen. And I've realised it's a terrible time to say it, given that we're about to play them. But
And you know what's going to happen at the back of it. You just know it. It's
oh
got
yeah, no,
1-0
they're
Swindon
gonna
written all
win now.
over it.
Yeah, they're gonna beat us now, obviously. But I just they're sort of like my case study for this, I suppose. I think there is a lot of chopping and changing to be done. There is every possibility that a front runner drops off. There is every possibility that someone from out of nowhere pops up and appears in the playoffs. You know, it's that crazy time of the season now. We are very much at the business end, and I'm all for it. It's all very competitive. I love it.
You're playing a dangerous game there, Mr. Payne.
Indeed.
In that, but you're absolutely spot on. I mean, look, with the running with 10 games to go, we'll quickly touch on it like, very quickly. We've got predictions to do yet. Obviously the top fives as it is, and obviously MK will certainly fancy themselves, certainly for top three. But I think they're in a good place at the minute. Bromley, I guess the sort of Valor still are. 5 draws in the last 6, still shaking a little bit, but certainly some of there. I mean, like I said, I think Swindon. I think that game at the weekend for Swindon's quite a big one. We'll have to see what they're made of in that one. I mean, Cambridge have drawn their last couple of games. I mean, they've got Gillingham, Walsall, Salford, Grimsby there next week. They've Barnet, Swindon. They've got a tough run in actually. Cambridge coming up, so that might make it interesting. Of course, we'll touch on Notts County as well. Back to winning ways at Walsall. Everyone's beating Walsall at the minute. Well, other than us the other week. But obviously they've got a big game against Chesterfield, in which they're in the playoff conversation. Although obviously the likes of Crewe are in there still. Barnet, Colchester, they're still an outside chance. We're talking about Oldham the other day as well. For because of their games in hand, and they're not a million miles away themselves. Currently starting 14th, but was also having a look at their running. You feel like the next few in particular are quite big, like Grimsby and Chesterfield. Really, I think you're probably looking at those games in particular. But even then, they've got Notts County to play, Crewe to play still, Colchester still to play, MK. Salford to play, but I guess they're playing a few teams around the bottom as well, like Shrewsbury are not quite at the bottom anymore, but Barrow are. Newport are. I mean, Accrington around mid-table, so they've got a couple of decent games, but overall their run is pretty tough. And then obviously the relegation battles is. We've been very critical of Barrow tonight, but again, there's certainly been some positive signs in Harrogate. Obviously, they lost to MK Dons the other day, but I mean, going 5 unbeaten, there's certainly life in them. Yeah. I mean, they've got a tricky game against Salford at the weekend. Newport, on the other hand, I mean, yeah, a couple of signs there. Look, basically, I think those two have shown more than Barrow have over the past few weeks or so, really. And I don't think anyone will disagree, but I mean, their run is tough. I mean, their next three are Barnet, Bromley, and Walsall. Pretty miserable for Newport. But maybe Crawley as well. We were saying the other day, they've drawn 3 of the last 4 games. I mean, they've taken points off MK Dons, Chesterfield, and Swindon. They just need to get over the line, really. If they can win 1 or 2 games, I mean, they've got Colchester on Friday night, Barnet to come after that. It's just trying to capitalise on it. And if they do get a couple of wins together, it might be a different conversation in a few weeks. But it's just getting it over the line, in which they've failed to do, certainly as of late. I mean, what are the 7 games without a win? So you're still asking that question, and even more so when even they're only a point above the drop. So we're in the business end now, aren't we? 10 games to go for most teams. Some have 11, a couple of 12. Yeah, this is the proper nitty gritty where no one wants to make a mistake, because you know that there is potential for teams to capitalise unless you're in the playoff conversation, which is either a week in which everyone wins or everyone doesn't. That's all I'm seeing at the minute in the playoff race, which is making me nervous.
Yeah, I mean, it's just total chaos. I mean, since we're right near the top of it at the minute, I'm absolutely here for it. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're kind of looking at almost every game now at this point and thinking, oh, that's a good game. That's a good game. Oh, that one could be close. That's just every single game at the minute, and you don't really know what to expect. But I suppose that's why we love it, isn't it? It makes for an exciting end to the season, and yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it, to be honest. I suppose we should probably get on with a few predictions and try and predict the craziness that and just be totally wrong on all 12
I
games,
mean,
but we'll see.
it's League Two, isn't it? Yeah, look, you're probably right. Right, let's crack on. We've got 12 games to get through. We've got 10 minutes. Right, Colchester Crawley Friday night. I mean, Colchester have been quite decent at home. They won the last game against Newport after back-to-back defeats for them. And as I've mentioned for Crawley, 3 draws in their last 4 games. They lost to Oldham, but a very late equaliser to take a point off Swindon, and they've been quite good at taking points off the teams, certainly in the top end of the table. I mean, they've got a tricky test away at Colchester, but I back Colchester at home 2-1.
The reverse of this was a 1-1 draw. Crawley obviously haven't won for a very long time. Colchester quite hit or miss. Injuries are certainly impacting him at the minute. I'm gonna say it's a repeat. 1-1.
Okay, I don't hate it. Right, moving on to Harrogate Salford. I think this is a game which certainly Harrogate can go there and give them one. I know that obviously Salford have won back-to-back games. They've won 3 of the last 4, but you included that as well in the run in between. They have been quite shaky at times. So this is by no means an easy game for Salford. Obviously, Harrogate lost 4-1 away at MK, which put an end to their 5-game unbeaten run. And I don't think that should derail them. I think they can take points off them, in which I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Well, they'll want to bounce back from that, and I know the heads dropped during that game, but I think they've got the capacity to at least bounce back in the very next game. And Salford's away form as of late has been a bit shaky. They've lost a few. You know what? I'm actually going to back Harrogate here, 2-1.
That's just me scared of predicting them to win for some reason. Right, how about this for an East Midlands sort of derby? Notts County, Chesterfield. Yeah, this is, look, I mean, both sides at the top, right at the top end of the table. Notts County go for an automatic promotion. Of course, that dramatic win over Walsall on Saturday. Wild scenes in the away end. I mean, Chesterfield coming into this game on the back of a defeat to Shrewsbury. Pretty poor one, conceded some pretty poor goals in the game. And have been quite shaky at parts in terms of their results. I think from what I recall, I could be wrong, but I feel like it almost feels like Chesterfield have had the upper hand in this fixture. For every time
They
I've seen it.
did win
I'm
the
just trying to
reverse
find out.
2-0.
They won the reverse 2-0. But I just feel like, genuinely speaking, I feel like it's always been Chesterfield, mainly at times. If not, it's been a draw. But I'm going to back Notts County for 2-1.
I'll keep changing my mind.
Might be a little bit brave because I know there's, a couple of injuries and stuff like that. But this is the part where to see what they're really made of. I guess the same could be said for Chesterfield as well. So in this, certainly this part of conversation as well. And they know what they want to do. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I keep changing my mind on this one, on who's going to win it. I mean, if I'm looking at Notts' games, almost all of them have been separated by 1 goal, aside from the Tranmere game, which was obviously the 5-0. Sorry, Tranmere. Chesterfield, again, can be hit or miss. I feel like in terms of the players they've got available in comparison to Notts, I know Notts obviously have that striker issue at the minute where it's pretty much just Matt Dennis available. Yeah, I'm gonna go Chesterfield 2-1.
Okay. What do we think of Barnet and Newport County at the Hive then? I mean, Newport lost their last game at home to Colchester. I mean, a win and a draw before that against Tranmere and Fleetwood, respectively. Whereas Barnet, they did lose their last game to Salford, a playoff chasing side, but also won their last 2 before that game, beating Chesterfield and Accrington. They are at home. They've not scored a great deal of goals recently. It's probably been a little bit unlike, certainly in the last 3 games, certainly been a little bit like them. I mean, they've, in the 2 goals that they have scored, they've won the game. So I think it's probably not that much criticism you could put them at that end. It's certainly a case of them bouncing back. I do think Barnet will have too much for Newport 2-0.
They just need to get a couple of wins on the board because, once they've played their next 2 games, it's that run of having to play Dons, Cambridge, and Bromley back to back to back. They need a couple of wins. I think they're going to get one here. I'm going to say that for the first time since early February, they're going to get a couple of goals on the board. 2-0 Barnet.
Yeah, okay, right. Accrington are making the trip to Barrow. We've been very critical of Barrow in this episode. I mean, realistically, I know their running is very tough, but I think this is probably, with the greatest respect to Accrington, probably one of the easier games they've got. Um, I mean, they picked up a very good draw against Cambridge last week, but they are without a win in four. On John Newland's side, but I have no confidence in Barrow at all. It'll be so then to go and put in a performance, nick a 1-0 win, Bob's your uncle there, and next thing you know, I think the conversation flips a little bit, probably not so much, but a little bit. I just can't see it. I really can't. And until I actually maybe see it, which is why I'm going to go 1-0 Accrington.
Oh, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's a tricky one with Accrington because obviously they've got suspension problems. They've had a couple of injury problems as well. Lost another couple in the last game. It's just I have no faith in. If I'm totally until they do something positive, I have no reason to back them. So I do think Accrington will make a little bit of a meal of it, but I do agree 1-0 Accrington.
Bromley, 18 matches unbeaten, 5 draws in their last 6, though. They're back at Hayes Lane, of course, unbeaten at home. But coming up against Bristol Rovers, who are in a good spot at the minute, 3 wins and a draw in their last 4 games. They're certainly in a good vein of form at the minute, and they've taken points off some good sides as well. Crewe took a point off Swindon, they beat Grimsby. Is this the game in which Bromley's home form and their long unbeaten league form is very much under threat? I'll come to you first, because I don't know.
Oh, why would you come to me first for that? That's just mean, because you know I want to predict them to lose, but I don't think I can in this case. I mean, Bristol Rovers away form up until the Swindon game had been woeful. Obviously, they got a draw at Swindon, and the following away game was their last game, which was the win against Barrow, but that doesn't tell me anything, if I'm totally honest. Bromley, obviously, I'm assuming will still be without Michael Cheek, which is obviously a huge loss. The thing is, Bristol Rovers are very good at similar things to what Bromley can be good at times in terms of the physical side of the game, the gamesmanship side of things. I don't know where to call it, so I'm just going to say 1-1.
Okay, Cambridge are beaten in their last 6 games. They're coming up against Gillingham, who, well, they got they got battered really by MK Dons from the scoreline, but they play each other at the Abbey. It's one of those in which if Gillingham rock up, I won't be surprised if they get anything from it. I do feel like there is a little bit of a match there, but I think, and certainly after that defeat as well to MK in a manner that, I mean, conceding 5 at home is just unacceptable, whoever you play. They'll want to bounce back against one of the best teams in the league going for automatic promotion. I won't be surprised if it's a draw, I really won't. But I'm also thinking, I think Cambridge nick this by 1-0.
I mean, I'd love it if Gillingham could do something in this game, obviously. I just think that the injuries are going to ruin them, unfortunately. I would expect a bounce back in terms of the performance, but Cambridge is just that bit better at grinding out results. So I'm going to say Cambridge 2-0.
Is a battle for a playoff spot. Crewe Alexandra hosting Walsall, of course. The big news and of course the big story going into this game. Walsall are now looking for a new manager after Mat Sadler left the club today, coming up against Crewe, who have done well of late. Did lose their last game in quite dramatic style to Bristol Rovers, so they'll be looking to bounce back. Whereas Walsall, 3 defeats in a row, certainly will want to bounce back and keep in this conversation. I think it's a must-win sort of for both, certainly for Walsall to stick with this pack. And I think with the teams that they have played recently, I think they've got to sort of win to stay in with it. Same with Crewe. Obviously, they'll want to bounce back after last week. I feel like it might be a game in which no one wants to lose, but I also quite fancy Crewe at home at the minute. I think they have been, especially recently, I think they have been in a good place. I think there might be a little bit of a bounce, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Crewe.
You've stolen my answer again. I was thinking 2-1 Crewe. I could see this going either way, but again, I mean, as things stand, Walsall are managerless. That could well change. But as of what we know right now, at time of recording, I think it's just a slightly safer bet to back Crewe. So I'm going to say 2-1 Crewe as well.
Okay, Fleetwood are coming up against Tranmere. Now, there is that added spice. Obviously, it's Pete Weld's first game in charge of Tranmere. And his first game in charge is going back to the place that sacked him about 6 weeks ago with a trip to Fleetwood. It's got all the marks of a 1-0 Tranmere written all over this, hasn't it? Like, obviously, there's work to do to arrest this awful run of form, but certainly Pete's wild case, he'd love to do one over Fleetwood, really. I know, and it's probably one which has got a lot of respect for the club. But obviously, what's happened is probably still quite raw. It's probably that little bit of motivation. Yeah, I mean, look, it is going to be a tricky game. Fleetwood are unbeaten in the last 7, so they're very much in form. But as we've alluded to, they've dropped some pretty poor points along the way in that as well to somewhat dim their playoff hopes. I'm going to back one. I'm going to back Tranmere. I think it's written for it. I honestly do.
It's tricky when it's an emotionally charged game like that. There's
That's it.
always something extra in it, isn't there? Oh, I mean, I still think Fleetwood need to turn things up a level, but at the same time, obviously, I was going on about how Tranmere's first target is to stop conceding. So I think it's going to be a narrow game. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I'm gonna say, you know what, 0-0.
Fair enough, right. Oldham Athletic, I think, are in a very good place at the minute, unbeaten in their last 6, keeping 4 clean sheets in that time as well. They're back at home this weekend as they've got Grimsby, our boys. I tell you, it'll be my first trip to Boundary Park. I'm looking forward to it. As a football club, I've got a lot of respect for Oldham. Big loyal fan base that have been with them for the test of time. They've had their issues, and just generally speaking, when they came to Blundell Park earlier in the season, I thought they were the best fans to come here for quite a long time. I thought they were incredible on the day. But look, this is a big game for both sides. We started off the second half of the year very well. We've only lost 1 league game since the turn of the year to Bristol Rovers, and 7 points out of Notts County, Salford, and Bromley, I think is a very good return. But we've got 3 games now. Those 3 games, we were not the favourites to take the win, really. These next 3 games that we've got, really for where we are, we're going into the day in the playoffs against Oldham, with the next 2 games after that, both at home against Fleetwood and Barrow. Really, this is not me being like big-headed or anything like that. We're going into those games as favourites. If you want to look at it league position-wise, but I'm under no illusions that it's going to be a very tough game of football. Oldham don't give much away, and I don't think there'll be much in this. Which is why I'm going to go for 1-1 draw. I think we could be in for a really tricky afternoon against, I think, a decent side. But I think for Oldham, I pointed out, obviously, the game against us and against Chesterfield coming up. I know they've got a couple of games in hand. But these are sort of games, if you want to be in this conversation because of their run-in, I feel you've got to get some wins out of these teams.
It's a tricky one, this. Obviously, Oldham's form of late has been fantastic. But then I'm looking at the games they've played. They've not played too many teams that are in brilliant form. I know Bromley are obviously still on their ridiculous unbeaten run, and taking points off top of the league is always impressive. But they're not playing the best version of Bromley, if you know what I mean. I think if Oldham were to win this game, that this would be the game that convinces me that they've got enough about them that they could compete for playoffs. Whereas if they lose it, I think their season could potentially just sort of peter away. It's a tricky one. I think I am going to back Grimsby just because I feel like there's more sort of evidence that you guys are going to be able to come away from something with this game, in my opinion. I'm going to say Grimsby win it 2-1.
My only worry is we might be without Charles Vernon. And
that wouldn't be ideal.
And we'll have to see what's been said on that. I mean, I've had a mate of mine saying that his season's done. I really hope that's not the case, because that could be a massive dagger into our chances. But look, we'll move on. 2 more games to look at. Steve Cotterill's Cheltenham side are going to Shrewsbury. Of course, Steve Cotterill did manage the Shrews back then. 6 wins in their last 7. I'm not doing it. I'm 23 years old. They've they've lost the other two to Walsall. Of course, they did win last week against Chesterfield, and doing very well. And Gavin Cowan, as I've mentioned a few times, deserves the recognition. For Cheltenham, it's quite an interesting one. 5 draws and a win in their last 6. I mean, they're certainly on an unbeaten run. Have dropped some pretty poor points, I think, throughout. I mean, coming back from 2-0 down away at Fleetwood, I think was a decent one. I mean, they did nick a 90th minute equaliser against Barrow, but they were 1-0 up in the game and they were pegged back at 2-1. I mean, in fact, no, I'm lying, to be fair. I think most of the points have been quite half decent, really, in the circumstances. I think you maybe look at maybe the certainly the Barrow game was maybe a little bit more disappointing, maybe Harrogate. But like I said, Bromley and Barnet, not bad at all. I fancy Shrews again. Again, they're just on fire at the minute. 2-1 Shrewsbury.
It's a tricky one to call this. You've got two teams that are looking quite strong, to be fair to them. I mean, if Cheltenham were to win it, they would go level on points with Shrewsbury potentially overtaking them, depending on how much your goal difference changes. There's not much to go on with this. I think purely just home advantage. 2-1 Shrewsbury, just about. I say that through gritted teeth.
And we've arguably got one of the biggest games for last. Swindon Town at home to MK Dons. Of course, both sides challenging for a top 3 spot. MK coming into this game second after putting 5 past Gillingham. I'll mention it again to make Luke happy.
Yay.
I mean, 9 goals, I should say. 5 goals against Gillingham, but 9 goals in the last 2 games, of course, including against Harrogate as well. Swindon only 1 win in their last 5. Thought they'd won it at Crawley the other day, only for the points to be snatched very late on, and certainly not automatic promotion chasing form at the minute. And with MK at the minute, they just look a different force. They're really coming into their own, in which, to be fair, we've waited all season for, to be quite honest, for one reason or another. But I back MK for a big win. I think they'll go there and they'll pick up a 3-1 victory, and I think that could be huge for both clubs' landscape for the season. I know you've touched on Swindon, but I just don't see how MK are going to lose at the minute. I'd like to be proven wrong, but I think it's probably all do. But I back him at this time. I think they're really strong.
I mean, we're 12 unbeaten at the minute. I do think that there is going to be. I do think it's a tricky game. Of course, it is. Swindon are good at scoring goals. I don't see us stopping them from having chances, given that we didn't stop Gillingham and Harrogate from having chances. I'd expect Swindon to get at least a couple of big opportunities, unless Nelson's starting. But I don't think I think he might be on the bench potentially. But yeah, like I said, we've got potentially 4 players returning, Nelson being one of them, potentially Mendes Lang being another one, the other 2 being Collar and Hepburn Murphy. It really is tricky, this. The only other factor is I don't think Swindon's defence is much good. And of course, now I've said that, I'm going to regret it. But
just say MK are going to win. I know you want to.
I do want to. I mean, I can't not back us, can I? I have to. In our current state, and I am agreed with you, I think it's going to be a 3-1, but that's going to be a narrower 3-1 than the score will suggest.
Okay, right. The Brainteaser. Of course, we missed it last week because I want a midweek. So I feel like we're a little bit behind. I've totally forgotten what it is. So I'll leave it to you, Luke, because you do this. You do this better than me. Like I explained it horribly last week. You should have seen it from the episode that didn't go out. Like I was having to say it again, like the rules of it were. You know this much better than me, so I'll leave it to you.
Very well. Well, I mean, it feels like it was ages ago now, doesn't it? I mean, the last one we had the answer for it. The clue was Ellis Biggins, and the answer for that was Harrison. So Ellis Harrison, obviously of Bristol Rovers. Harrison Biggins, the other player there. So well done to those of you who got that. The comments I saw, Lee and Andy, well done. If anyone else that got that home that just didn't tell us, well done to you as well. Good job. Tell us next time, though. So, to explain how that works, I will give you the first name of one League Two footballer, and I will give you the surname of another League Two footballer. All you have to do is find the name in the middle that connects those two. So, hopefully, you got that from the example there. So, the clue for this week, the first name is Jamil, Jamille, and the surname is Butcher, Butcher. So if you know the answer to that, the name that connects those two players, then drop it into the comments. We'll give a couple of shout outs, and I mean, I think that's a relatively easy one. So I'm sure we'll see a few comments, and it was another one that Jordan got straight away. I'll be totally honest. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's the brain teaser for this week.
Look, we'll wrap it up there before more issues arise. There's been a lot to get through in this, so thank you very much for sticking with us. Let us know your comments or your thoughts in the comments. We greatly appreciate it. Download podcast wherever you get it from. Subscribe on YouTube. We really do appreciate it. Yeah, well, let's get out of here. I need to lie down, really. You've been listening to Payne. I have been Jordan Richards. This has been the League 2 Lowdown. All the best to your teams this weekend, and we'll see you in the next one. Blimey, what a crazy league.